It's too much like killing your own children. I need someone to take,
Which I feel like doing all the time.
but it's
But you don't know my kids, so.
I can't. I've got a lot of children. I can't possibly say anything like that at all. They'd kill me.
Ian, David, and Quinn started out to make a $50 million movie based on Ian's book, TJ's War. Mark, Sia, and Sincera soon jumped on board, and then Mr. Z joined the team, a mysterious executive producer who said, "Stop, this is no movie. This is a 2-season, 20-episode TV show. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series."
Welcome. Today's guest is Richard Hatem, a writer and producer whose work has fascinated audiences with its blend of mystery, suspense, and the unexplained. He's best known as the screenwriter of the 2002 film The Mothman Prophecies, which brought the legendary West Virginia cryptid to the big screen in a chilling exploration of fate, folklore, and the unknown. Beyond that, Richard has written and produced for hit television series like Supernatural, The Dead Zone, and Grimm, carrying out a career at the crossroads of the supernatural and the cinematic. He's a storyteller who takes us just far enough into the shadows to feel the chill, but always leaves us wanting more. Please welcome Richard Hatem. Richard, welcome to our podcast. Welcome to We're Making a $50 million TV series.
Thank you for having me. I think it's a lovely goal, a $50 million TV show. I'm in. Let's do it.
Well, we may just take you up on that. We are looking for a screenwriter, I can tell you. We shall talk about that later.
Now, let me tell you my fee. $49 million.
Yeah, well,
you've already got the 50, right? I mean, this is a done deal, right? You're not looking to raise money. You've got it.
Well, we are doing really well. I've got to say that the last year and a half to nearly 2 years now of doing this has been just, it's not a roller coaster. It's just straight on up. It's just been a fantastic journey. And every day is a day at school, and every day we just get that 1 or 2 steps closer to the goal. It's been great fun.
Good.
You are, as I said in the intro, a writer and a director and a producer and a screenwriter. And we've done the part of writing the book and then producing the treatment. And we're now moving across to the next part, which is the locator director and locator screenwriter, to get us into the ring, get us into the circus ring. What's your experience in this area?
Well, I'm curious as to sort of the process you're following. Out here in the United States, what typically happens is with a television show, you'll write the first episode, the pilot, as they call it, and then everything is sort of based on that. That stands as an example of what an episode might look like, and also kind of a thin but holographic slice, tonally especially, of what the entire series will be. Now, is that what do you guys do that too? I mean, is that ultimately what you're looking to do?
Our treatment has outlined 20 episodes within this story. So the whole story is already known. And I think we'd be a bit stuck if we just produced a pilot, because that would take you 2 feet down the path. Well, I think people would only just start to get engaged.
Here's the thing. I mean, and this is going to be, I think, sort of the central artistic challenge whenever you adapt a book to screen, and especially when you're the author of both. Or you're the author of the first one, you're the author of the book, and you see the story as everything in the book being then translated into um, into what's on television in this case. In other words, you're almost taking the book and dividing it into 20 sections and going, okay, there's our 20 chapters, our 20 episodes. And this will be the first one. That'll be the second one. Episode 9 won't really look like episode 1. It'll be about different things. And episode 13 and 17 and 19 will be different from each other. Which of course is the way you would think of it. But the challenge and the trick of producing television or film, but in this case, we're talking TV, is to really think of it as, well, what are the things that unite every single episode? And ultimately what you come down to is character. And in any case, whenever you're adapting something from, this to this in terms of written material, it's a matter of, okay, rather than emphasizing and stressing how big the story is, how small can we make it? How can we reduce this to just a thin steel bar of theme and story that is one thing that we are following throughout the whole thing? I mean, in other words, can we boil it down? Can it be boiled down to a phrase, to a paragraph, to a sentence? Because the more you can boil it down, and this is something that goes on in my profession all the time, because and it's so challenging, because what you're doing is you're trying to take something very big and convey it very quickly to someone else. So in pitch meetings, the trick is never to sit down and go, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. No matter how brilliant that is, the trick is to go, this is a story about a guy who has to find his father to save his son's life, or something like that, and if you can say that, then immediately people are like, oh, okay, well, what's that all about? Then you get into how it has to do with, his son has a rare genetic disease, and it can only be, he needs a donor. But the dad, was adopted and now must go find his real dad to get the bone marrow to give to the kid. But it happens to be during a time of war. And then you sort of like get all that other stuff. But all that other stuff now is in a weird way just set decoration to the one story of a father who must save his son by finding his father. And then you're like, and as long as you always remember that, then even as you're writing episode 9 and you're in the middle of something, you're like, well, when the dust settles, I always know what this guy is trying to do, whether he's sleeping with someone or breaking into a store or lying his way onto a train or doing all the things that he's doing, he's following one goal. And that is the one goal. And that one goal is actually quite small. It has nothing to do with winning the war. It has nothing to do with whatever. And I'm just making this stuff up, but
but it's good.
It's this constant practice of like reduction, and streamlining, and then building back up.
Wow. Well,
and the thing is, when you've got the book, see, you've already done the big part. And it's a mind fuck to now work in the opposite direction. Like, it's very easy. Like, for instance, with Mothman, if you read the book, The Mothman Prophecies, it makes no sense. There's almost no connecting material. There's almost no overarching story. It really is written from the point of view of John Keel, the author, who went to Point Pleasant when he heard weird things were happening. And it's his journal of all the weird things that happened. And there's a million more things that happen in the book than happen in the movie. So the big challenge was, well, how do I make a coherent story out of this? And how do I make it not about this town, but all about him?
Yeah.
And so that was the heavy lifting. And it wasn't until I came upon, well, you know what? This should happen in the aftermath of the death of his wife. So it's really, if you ask me, I would tell you that the Mothman Prophecies movie is about a guy who in the aftermath of his wife's death, finds that he can't really move forward in his life. That's Act 1. Act 2 is he finds himself as a reporter in a town where mysterious things are happening. And as he's trying to figure out those mysterious things and what's causing them and why they're happening, he discovers that it has something to do with his wife. But the more he searches down that road, the further away from getting on with his life he gets. That's Act 2. Act 3 is he discovers that to get on with his life, he needs to give up on solving the mystery and get into Laura Linney. He basically needs to simply pursue the relationship that he's developed along the way with Laura Linney, and that's his road back into life, which is really what the movie's about. How do you go on after someone dies and you're stuck in that grief place that's all about the bigger questions of life and death? And the longer you spend there, the less you're actually participating in life. Now, that took 1 minute, and that's still too long.
No, but I get completely what you're saying, and I already know, because I've been thinking about this for a number of years now, that I'm not the screenwriter. It's too much like killing your own children. I need someone to take,
which I feel like doing all the time. But you don't know my kids, so
I can't. I've got a lot of children. I can't possibly say anything like that at all. They'd kill me. But it's. I'm too close to it. I already know I'm too close to it. But we've created a team, and we've created these. We see the Second World War as the A to Z. It's a very large canvas, and we try to take the audience through the Second World War, following this thread. And there's actually two main character threads that we follow, and beyond that, we've really sectioned it up chronologically. So episode 1 deals with the beginning of the war to some extent, and introduces you to the characters, and then you just follow it through, and episode 20 is at the end of the war. It's very primitive, it's very basic, and I'm aware of that. So I think, I know that we really need a screenwriter to come along and look at this and go, oh yes, but you need to do all kinds of things with it.
It is, and it's a kind of it's a difficult mental exercise, because when you're and again, like I said, everyone goes through it. This is not unique to you or me. It's everyone who sits down to do any of this stuff. The trick becomes, how do you it's like World War II is World War II. Now, here's the good news. We all know how it came out. So no one's watching your show wondering about any of that. We already know. And they already made that into a movie. What we're wondering about is TJ and his particular story. In other words, like when I'm teaching my class at UCLA, there will often be a student who wants to tell a story about, they're like, well, my TV show is going to take place in the Civil War. Okay. And the first scene is at the White House and it's with Lincoln. And I always say, no, it isn't. You're going to tell a story about the Civil War, the American Civil War, and we're never going to see Abraham Lincoln ever, because they're thinking, well, no, because it's got to be Lincoln. We got to free the slaves. He's going to get assassinated in Ford's Theater. We got to do all the Civil War things, but you don't. I'm like, if you want to tell a story about the Civil War, tell a story about one 17-year-old kid who lies his way in his hometown to get into the small army battalion to get away from his drunken dad. That's the story you're telling. You're telling that guy's story. And now, to whatever degree he experiences the Civil War is all part of his experience. But we already know the Civil War. We already know how it came out. We don't particularly care. We want to know about this one guy and how he gets through. And so again, it helps you. It's like, oh yeah, just focus in. And you get scared because you feel like, well, no, but I owe it to the audience. We've got to have, the Nazis got to be marching through, and we got to have, the Battle of Midway, and we got to have Normandy, and we got to have all these things. You don't need to have any of that at all. And because it's the more granular you can get, that's what hooks people in, is that just that one person, because we can follow that. And anyone can follow that. A 10-year-old kid can now watch your movie who knows nothing about World War II, but it doesn't matter. They get it. This guy's scared. This guy's worried. He's sad. He's happy. Or she, or whoever your main character is. So that's always, that's the hard part. And the more you're thinking in that direction, I'd say the more on target you're going to be.
I think we're certainly focusing on in our breakdown of the TV series, we're focusing on characters and character development all the way through. So there is a bit of explanation, for want of a better word, of what's going on. What point in the war are we at various points? But that's just it's tiny compared to what's really happening with TJ and with his love interest throughout this, and with his other colleagues that are trying to survive in this chaos. And it's, it's a true story. So
well, that's another, that actually hurts you.
Oh, interesting. Go on.
It hurts you in terms of your ability to break free and experience a little bit of creative freedom. I'll give you an example, and this happens in my classes too. I'll have students who are like, well, I've got a really crazy idea for a story, but it's all true and it's all my life. It's like my life is like a story. And I'm like, well, let me stop you right there. Your life is not a story. Your life is just a life. A story is a very specific thing that is crafted very meticulously to lead an audience from point A to point B, hitting certain emotional moments along the way. No, but you don't understand. My dad was crazy, and then my mom was crazy, and then my brother was crazy. And I'm like, no, just a bunch of crazy stuff isn't a story. That's a fireworks show or a circus. But a circus has no narrative. A circus is simply, look at this crazy thing. All right, we're done with that. Now look at this crazy thing. When it's a real life, you do feel a certain responsibility. It's like, well, this is a real life. So my number one responsibility is to accurately put across what happened in this real life. And that is not your responsibility whatsoever. You should not do that. No movie you have ever seen about a person's real life is accurate. None of them. One of my favorite movies, and I love like rock docudramas, movies, like a movie like Bohemian Rhapsody. Did you see Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah.
I love that movie. I'm like, this is great. This is the story of Freddie Mercury and Queen. And it's everything I wanted it to be. I don't even know that much about Queen. I know enough, but I'm like, oh, this is just what I want. I mean, this is great. And his struggles and how he made things work and how he got through and his tragic end and all of that. And I get out of the movie and I call my friend Larry, who's friggin' living, musical encyclopedia. And I'm like, oh my God, what did you think of Bohemian Rhapsody? And he's like, it was garbage. They got everything wrong. He didn't do that in 1983. He did that in 1979. And that album didn't come out till 81. And he didn't meet the band members there. He did it. And I'm like, oh, I guess I just don't care. And it's like, and he knew he had AIDS and he never knew. And at that point, and I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter. No one cared. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, how did they possibly do this? This is recent history. Anyone can go on Wikipedia and find out every single thing they did wrong. And not the writer, not the director, not the actors, not the studio. Not one of them stood up and said, no, that song came out in the fall of 79.
Yeah.
So we can't have it in the scene that takes place in the spring of 77. All they said was, what's the story of Freddie Mercury? What was his main problem that he had to overcome? Great, just tell that. No one cares. And guess what? That movie made over $200 million.
Yeah.
And everyone loved it. And even the people who know the truth were like, well, it didn't really matter because it made me feel good. And it's 100% true. So that's what you need. Now you're talking about a guy no one knows. So what you are your main responsibility is, well, what's his one emotional truth? What is the one thing that drove this guy? What was his main motivation? Was it family? Was it honor? Was it justice? Whatever. You pick one thing and go, that's the story I'm telling. And it'll be true enough because it'll be true to all people. Everyone who watches that movie will understand what that motivation means and will be able to find themselves in that story.
Does it have...
By the way, I'm going to charge you for all this.
I'd struggle to find that one. Probably the closest I can get to that, he had a very strong sense of justice, which made him a bit of a renegade.
How did it make him why did it make him a renegade?
Because
were other people not looking for justice?
For example, in the opening scene, he is a private in a regiment. They've been sent into Norway. Their captain is a man who is he at this point is 19. The captain's about 25. He's come from an elite background. He's got no experience of warfare, but he's in charge, and he's acting like, I mean, he's inside the captain. He's probably very scared and really doesn't know what to do, but his outward appearance is to tell everyone what to do and make a lot of mistakes that kill people. So TJ's attitude to this is he has no respect for this man, and he basically is simmering on the edge of wanting to punch him on the nose for most of that first scene. The captain
very
doesn't
good.
actually
This
last.
Is great.
Pardon?
This is great. This is great. And he should punch him in the nose, because what you're telling now is a story about a guy who's more concerned with what's right than what's the rules.
Yes.
And that is a whole genre of film. And that is something we all understand. And what you do, for instance, and this is just a for instance, literally in the next hour, we could come up with 5 different things that his character could be at its core. But let's just talk about this one for now. Let's just play with this. We're telling a story. This is a story now, 20 episodes about a guy who, when faced with a conflict, will do what's right over what is legal, what is the rule, or what is considered polite, or what is considered acceptable within that moment in geography, history, whatever. And that could be as small a thing as meeting up with a dog in the street, and as big a thing as disobeying orders during a war. I mean, you can take a story like that, and it all comes down to it's the invasion of Normandy, and my particular, supervisor is giving me bullshit information, and I've got 10 guys I've got to get onto that beach. So I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to do what I know is right. Even if it gets me court-martialed, I'm not going to let these 10 guys die. Yeah. And that becomes the culmination of a story about a guy who will always do the right thing, even if it's not the rule thing. And we see him make these decisions. And once we know that about him, now we're playing along. Now we're in the game. Oh, what's he going to do now? Oh, now he's in a bar, and there's a loudmouth at the end of the bar coming on to that lady. What's he going to do? Is he going to fight the guy? Is he going to do it with his fists, or is he going to be smart about it? But we're following along because we know this one thing about this one guy, and we love that. Once we have that information, we're in the game. we're involved in every scene to see how it all works out. And then you as a writer just keep raising the stakes. Well, it's easy if you're just in a pub and there's a guy you can beat up. But what happens when you realize, oh no, I'm going to be court-martialed, and I already know this is the biggest moment in the war? Or even better, what if I find myself in a situation where what's right isn't clear? And now I know what the rules are wrong, but I don't know the right thing. It could be this or it could be that. And somehow I have to choose between two equal rights. What do I do?
We've got that.
You just bring it up and up and up. So by you saying that, just illustrating that one little scene with those two little characters, you may have unlocked your entire series.
Oh, I'm feeling very comfortable about that. My question now to you is, this trait that he has, it's present throughout the entire story, but this is a man in decline. The war is having an impact. As opposed to the Americans, our war started in 1939. You guys came along in the end of 1941, beginning of 1942. Late to the party, and it's relentless. I think we one of the issues that we're trying to get across with this, well, in the book especially, is nothing's changed. We are putting our best people into harm's way and leaving them there. So as far as they're concerned, they're just there until they're eventually really badly wounded or killed. And it's relentless what they're going through. Some of the special forces, especially when they went out to Afghanistan, they were out there for years. They weren't coming back because especially in the UK, our armed forces have been depleted to the point that there was nobody to take over when they came out. So they were just being left there. And that level of pressure takes its toll and is doing so now as much as it did in the Second World War. And in the Second World War, his experience was very much one thing after another, after another, after another. And all the way through the Second World War, he is declining as a human being. His value set is under intense pressure. His capacity for fairness and his capacity to think properly declines. He becomes his coping mechanism is alcohol, and it becomes more of a crutch as the war goes on, which is all true. But in terms of making a good TV series or a good film, but in our case, a good TV series, is that something we should do? Should we have this value set that changes for the main character as the story goes on, or not?
Well, when you have a character whose values are changing and changing in a way that the general society would not go along with, then we're watching a tragedy, or we're watching something like Breaking Bad. Okay.
Yeah.
And yet we understand each step along the way why Walter White is sort of Breaking Bad. Now, but what's interesting is you can do the same thing, emphasizing the first point you were making. For instance, earlier you were saying that, because of the way the military works and the way politics work, we send young men into battle, but we're not supporting them in the way that we could. And we're kind of, hanging them out to dry. And that is a truism, I think, of war and military throughout history. Of course, everyone kind of gets that. So what you can do is to tell that story where we can, but still make your hero a hero. And I think this is a better way to go in general for me, to show a guy who, even though his own country, his own military reality is not necessarily helping him, it's letting him down, it's stranding him, his own instinct toward doing the right thing is the one thing that shines through, even though his ability to do that keeps getting blocked and stripped away. Now we're really into this guy, because now everything's against him. And we can watch him, give way to illness. We can watch him give way to alcoholism. As long as we know that that core part of him did not get destroyed, he can die at the end. And yet we as an audience will have been on a journey that tells us, of course the world's not going to help you. Of course every day you're going to wake up and the world sucks, as we all feel every day. But you can still be you, and I can still be me. And we can make a difference, even in a small way. Even if everything's against us, even if the structures and institutions we've come to believe in and rely on fail us, we can still do the one small thing. We can make a decision in a given moment to act in a particular way that is consistent with our own interior beliefs and has a positive outcome for one other person. And if you drop dead at that moment, it's all been worth it.
To find out more about the book, visit tjswar.com. And to buy it, click on the Amazon link below. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series.